Hola community, I'm Pablo Vazquez. Welcome to another episode number 124 of Blender Today Live. Today we have to talk so much. We have to talk about the previous release, not the previous, the current release. Oh, previous releases actually. There is a 291 beta available for download to test to get it as stable as possible. Please report anything that you find. Let's not make it another release that you need to add some fixes later on so people can focus on the future, which is 292 alpha. Blender 2.92 is already here to test alpha. It even has new features. There's new improvements in sculpting. Cycles is even faster. Lattice deforming is even faster, but that one actually it's also belongs to Blender 2.91. So 291 is not even out, and there are already reasons to use 292. What the heck, people? Please. All right, how is everything going in the chat? Is everything okay? We're streaming live, by the way, live from my from my bedroom, now my living room in Amsterdam. We're in lockdown again, but that shouldn't stop us from having fun here. I should probably bring back the weekly meetings, the everydays, or the chatting, the getting to know the community better. There is a thread here that R Animation Studios made. Thank you, R, for making it. There's already some questions here that I'm gonna be answering towards the end of the show after I go through this whole list of changes that I have prepared right here. How's everybody doing? How are you enjoying the new oh yeah, where were the sound effects? I have the sound effects. That wasn't there any sound? Like, do you hear that? I just moved into another dimension. A dimension, a pipe, down a pipe. Yes, you hear the pipe. Okay, cool. Amsterdam in lockdown. Yeah, we are in lockdown actually, but I mean not a big lockdown. It's just tomorrow we're gonna know. But Spain is going a big lockdown. Yeah, so Latin America is also not doing great, except in politics. Congratulations, Chile, for moving forward, and Bolivia too. So off topic. Let's get into the business. All right. Cycles is faster. Cycles is faster now. Cycles, yes. What's faster? Particular. In this patch by Easy3 or Hanadan, multi-threaded export of geometry. What does it mean? That when you have a lot of objects, you're gonna see a big improvement, such as the barbershop example. For example, the barbershop is is a shot from the open movie Agent 327, which, if you have seen it, is inside of the barbershop. There is all kinds of little objects around, like here. Wait, let's go. It's in this scene. So imagine all these little objects. They take a while to be exported, to start rendering. So now it's actually faster. Now it's up to 5 times faster in this one shot. There are other ones, like there are other files. If you don't have many objects, it shouldn't affect much. Like there's a Coro example. This one is the llama from Caminandes, and yeah, that's just the one object, which is the llama, so it didn't make a difference there. But yeah, but BMW even is a bit faster. Fishycat, Sponsa. I don't recognize this test, but yeah, Victor. And for some reason, the Walt Disney Cloud is actually slightly slower. But yeah, that's a very specific file. This is exciting. Many objects, you know? So we can say that Blender is getting better for complex scenes. Isn't that great? All right, you know what? I'm gonna jump into another performance improvement. So using the pipe, but it's a tiny pipe because it takes me into the same concept of performance, but this one is for lattice deform. Lattices are amazing. If you're not using them, you are missing out, because it's a quick way, very quick way to deform your entire mesh in the entire scene with just a few boxes. Is dynamic. You can change the amount of subdivisions that a lattice has. I think lattices are a bit underrated. Yes, because They are just awesome. I think we even need to add, we should add even more stuff into the lattice. For example, lattices can have modifiers, but they don't have mirror. We should have mirrors. They have, we should have all the modifiers here, or modifier nodes. How about that? Anyway, the dropping a bomb there. Okay, what about these? What about the improvements? So here, prefetching the form. There is a whole lot of things that you maybe want to read if you are into the details. But the part that is more important is the numbers that gives 50% performance increase measured on an Intel i7. Not even something like crazy Ryzen stuff. Intel Core i7, there is a 50% improvement. That's super big. Here we can see even more numbers. So the more vertices you have, it's you're gonna see the better, a bigger improvement apparently. Such as in this, for example, you have 100,000. It goes from 30 milliseconds to 21 milliseconds, and yeah, these are milliseconds, but they add up. So the more, the better. Super nice. Performance, isn't that great? Isn't that great? Yeah, it is great. There are actually more performance improvements that I'm gonna be showing later. No, I'm gonna leave it for later in a bit. Let's jump into the other section that I usually start with, but I couldn't hold my excitement to share the new cycles improvements. So let's go into the user interface side of things. This one, to me, is the user interface improvement of the week, because it's there are many reasons. One of them is because it's awesome, and the other one is because it's contributed by the community, by Eric from the community. What I mean from the community, it's we are all the community, right? But this is not a Blender developer that it's Blender Foundation core developer. It's a contribution by Eric Abrahamson, and he named this Move Selection Box with Spacebar. However, after some discussion here, this was like, okay, moving the selection box around, isn't that great? But then I tested it, and then yeah, this applies to everything, not just the selection. This also applies to like border select, or it also applies to like trimming in sculpt mode, or when moving a mask around, or when making face sets, also applies there. Or in this case, I'm using trim. I think I want to place it right there, kind of abusing the tool a little bit. And then border rendering. Voila, isn't that great? And in the comments there was a request, which maybe we shouldn't be asking requests in another patch, but in this case he's super nice and he did it as part of this patch. What I mean is that it should be maybe part of another patch, because otherwise developers can get stuck adding a feature request to a patch that doesn't belong there, so it slows things down. So in this case, the feature request was to add support for Lasso select. So I'm going to use my pen here to show you Lasso, this thing where you can draw little Pac-Man ghosts. Well, now if you press spacebar, you can move the Pac-Man around, and this is just amazing. It allows you to, as you are drawing, just hold spacebar, move it around, draw more. No, I just want it here. I want it over here. So you can be the most undecided person on earth, because you can keep moving it. Isn't just great? Border select, box select, render border, pretty much anything. And this works in, it's generic. It's a gesture feature, so it applies to everything that uses the gestures. Super cool. Thank you, Eric. You won the award of feature of the week on my side, at least. So here's a star. Next, let's move into the other improvements in the user interface. These are small tweaks that were done in Blender 2.91 to improve the position of the search. So if you if you follow, of course you follow, you wouldn't be watching this. If you follow the news, you know that one of the big features in 2.91 is that we can now search. But the search was misplaced, was placed a little bit weird. It was here, but it wasn't really centered, and the pinning was up here. So that made it a bit confusing, because what you pin here... By the way, anybody of you guys use this feature? Especially beginners. Do you even know what this feature does? Because it's not shown a lot. I think I don't see it, at least on tutorials. It's great though. It allows you to pin. So if you want this lamp always to have these settings on here, you just pin it, and then you can make another one and pin it, another editor, and then you have those settings always there. Super powerful, because it allows you to basically just continue working and always have this little panel over here always available. So yeah, you can kind of tweak your UI. You can even hide this thing here and then have a color only for that one lamp. Super powerful. But yeah, it was in the wrong place. It was in the header next to the search, and the feature doesn't pin the search. It just pins the the context. Super handy. Why can't it pin the tab too? In the pinning is not available in these panels. It's only available for the time being in here, in the panels in the N sidebar. So if you want for example, I've been using the circular array. It's not a feature in Blender, it's an add-on. I was testing it. But for example, if you use the 3D cursor a lot, you can pin it, and then you go to tools, and then you have the 3D cursor always available, or here the options, and then you can keep these ones around. Even when you are in add-ons, you're always going to see them here. So yeah, let's see. Next feature in the list. No, that's just that. Actually, the other feature that I wrote down, it was the centering of the search, but that's part of what I just mentioned. So let's go into the other hot topic of the week. Some of these features are 291, some of them are 292, so let's get confusing. All right, sculpting, sculpt mode. This mode that keeps getting improvements, and when you think a feature was great, it just gets greater, just gets better. Let's start with some of what I mean with things get better. So you know the graph brush, or the boundary brush, that allows you to for example, to pull things based on the boundaries, the borders. Well, now you can apply smoothing to the boundary brush. So you can take this brush that only affects the edges, and then apply like some kind of filter to smooth them out. Just, isn't that great? Smooth in the boundary brush. Another great addition to this tool. What else? In the last few weeks, we talked about the line gestures improvements. So line gestures is the for example, when you are trimming a mesh. Let's move here. So when you're trimming a mesh, or when you are making a mask like this with this feature, now you can snap it to angles. You can hold a key, a modifier key, which is I guess it will be Shift, Control, should be Control. Anyway, you can hold a key and it will snap to 45 degrees angles. So in the if you're horizontal, it's going to make a straight line, and top and the sides. Pablo mentions here that it's at the moment it's hard coded to 45 degrees, but it should be easy to expose if people requested. I think it's 15 degrees angles now. Oh, they changed it. Maybe I missed that commit. But yeah, I think maybe 15 degrees is better. Maybe it's a good mix, because 5 would be okay, or we should get an option. But yeah, to avoid options, go down the task. In here. The video was in 5. No, 5 no. It's too little. 5 was default. We have a setting for that actually in the user. No, not for this tool in particular, but we have for snapping, right? For the view, something like that. For the viewport, you can snap every few degrees. I don't see it here. Editing maybe. There was a setting to how much to rotate when you. Bah, I missed it. But maybe it could be a setting. Next. While you are using this tool for the gesture tool, so when you have when you go in one direction or the other, like this, now you can hold the F key to adjust or to change the direction of it. So if you press F, it's gonna flip to the other side. Not sure about the F shortcut. We use tab when you wanna flip in the now in the editing of the viewport, the layout, you use tab. So I don't know about the F. Maybe F is fine. But yeah, I like it here that it's showing off all the features. So like flipping, then snapping 2 degrees, and then moving, the new feature by Eric. So super cool. Nice. All right, another improvement in this. So by the way, all these new features are now available thanks to well, Pablo made it, but also to Raul Caudari, that he made the icons for it. So he made all these nice little icons which make the feature complete, so it can be added to the interface, to this interface. How's the chat going? F. F for the shortcut, not for for a loss or something. How is it going? Where is the chat? Where's Pog? People are talking. POG. Not sure what that is. I'm missing out. Maybe something like pogo, like jumping. Is that a thing? It's a Twitch emote. Ah, okay. Jeez, I feel old. Let's it's a play of a game. Ah, okay. It's a meme. I believe I was fairly up to date with all the dankest memes out there, but I'm so behind. You can never be on top. Let's continue. So remember I was talking about the improvements, and when you think a feature is already fine and then it keeps getting better. So in this case, the grab tool now has a deformation fall off, plane deformation fall off, which in other words, it just makes it work great. It just adds it makes it much more soft around the edges, and then when you combine it, look, now it does it in the other direction. Looks so nice. And when applied to this, it's just, yeah, just great. What else to say? Thank you, Pablo, if you're watching this, for making the videos. You make my life much easier. I think just the right just looks great. Let's continue. Face sets also getting improvements. Face sets now have an option to delete the geometry. So when you make a face set, you can now delete, not only hide, but also just get rid of the whole interface. interface, edges, vertices, faces inside of your face set. Then what is this one? It's an option to limit the action of line gestures to the segment. What is this exactly? That's a tool property. Oh yeah, look, this is awesome. The line gesture feature that I was talking before, now not only in the past without this option on, it's a line, so if you even make a short line, it will draw a line through the entire view. Not anymore. Now you can make it only affect the area within the line that you're cutting. So that is amazing. You can, yeah, it's great for like hard surface modeling, sculpting. How would I do it in the other direction? Yeah, I guess it's just okay. So now we need this for now, because with trimming you can do any face, right? With trimming you can trim lasso, so you get any shape. You can trim a box, you can trim with a line, and now you can trim with a line only in this one section. So yeah, it's done. Just go home, enjoy life. This feature is awesome, and I know it's gonna get better. Okay, let's continue. I think it's time to change topics. How's everybody? There is some spam in the chat. Yeah, it doesn't work. She's just saying that yeah, if you spam, you're gonna get silence forever. So you need to make a new account to comment. And yeah, not commenting many times the same is actually counterproductive. All right, continue. Bake mesh animation for selected keyframes in Grease Pencil. So when you are baking an animation, you used to do the entire thing. Not anymore. Now you can actually apply it only to the selected keyframes, making it a lot more predictable. So I don't know if this option should be on by default or not. What do you guys think? The Grease Pencil. No, Grease. Grease or Grease? I have a really hard time telling apart those two. But Grease Pencil would also be nice. And it would be very delicious, I bet. All right, let's continue. Here in the chat, actually, someone was asking, Mature Teacher was asking about Eevee improvements, and I do have some improvements in Eevee. So this improvement, I don't have a picture to show, but it should improve the reflections on the screen space reflections, the contact reflections. So when objects are touching to reflecting objects. So this patch helps to the case of intricate reflections where the ray does not travel far before intersecting the geometry. So contact. In these cases, there could be a phase negative exclusion of the ray caused by the back phase rejection threshold. Of course, Clément, I totally understand what you're saying. It's just if anybody watching this can find the difference, or maybe maybe this was a bug report, and if you submitted the bug report, please show the differences. It's nice to see exactly what has changed in both of them, in the both versions. Okay, let's continue. This one is not really Eevee yet, because this will help to have some features in the upcoming version of Eevee. Should Eevee have its own versions? Anyway, Draw Manager. This is the thing, the feature, the technology that takes care of drawing objects in the scene, in the viewport. So work has been done to add custom render passes, which will make it nice for other render engines. For example, if you are making your own render engine because lockdown, corona, I don't know, or you're working for a company that is making one, you can make use of it. It's part of the options that you can use, any render engine could use. However, in the case of Eevee, it will come really handy when this task is completed. This task is under development, is not there yet, but it will be awesome for compositing, for making Eevee a real life render engine, which is already. However, Cycles already has Cryptomatte, but Eevee doesn't. So Eevee, you are growing up. You are becoming one of well, it should be also just much faster, right? Because it doesn't have to calculate. I mean, Cryptomatte only gives you the material level and object level stuff. So I wonder if even when using Cycles, it would make sense to just use Eevee under the hood to calculate the Cryptomatte, and then yeah, use that instead. I wonder. And also AOV, which stands for arbitrary output values, or custom AOVs. They're also available in Cycles, not yet in Eevee until soon, in a matter of, I think it should be for this release, for 2.92. For next release, not, I shouldn't say this, next release. Alright, it's time to move forward into the, I can bet a leg that you are not going to guess what I'm going to show you now. Which editor I'm going to show you, because I've never talked about features in this editor. And this one is the Compositor. Yes, the Compositor got an improvement in the keying node. The keying node used to yield bad alphas. So there were some tricks having to be done to convert the alpha, like using a alpha convert node to bring it back into pre-multiply and then unpre-multiply, and that mess. Not anymore. Now, thanks to Sergey Sharivin, we can read his poetry in this commit log. Historically, the result of the keying node was violating alpha pre-multiplication rules in Blender. It was simply overriding the alpha channel of the input. This change makes it so keying nodes mix the alpha into the input, which solves the following issues. The result is properly pre-multiplied, no need in separate alpha convert nodes anymore. And also, it allows to more easily stack keying nodes. This use case was never really investigated, but since previously alpha is always overwritten, it was never possible to easily stack keying nodes. Now it's something to be tried. Isn't that great? Isn't that awesome? So, yeah, go use the keying node. I've used the keying node in Blender with proper alpha. Let's see, anybody guessed in the chat that where we were talking about, someone said node editor? Yes, well, I mean, node editor, yeah, the Compositor is a sub-editor of the node editor. So, pretty close. All right, I think I'm getting close to last week's improvements. I have some improvements that were done in the past that I never managed to share, but I think we're on time. We're only half an hour in, so I'm gonna just go through them so I clean my list of improvements. If you watch the previous episodes, I usually go to the end and it's like, oh, I ran out of time. So now I have the time. So let's switch into Outliner. These improvements already are part of Blender 291. It just didn't have the time to share them before. So such as this one, draw the hierarchy lines for the objects. This feature was lost at some point in the release, in the new improvements that were done for the for example the color lines and such, but now they are properly drawn, and I think they're even better because now, for example, here now the hierarchy line, it's colored properly under the collection, whereas the object parent and the object children are properly now in this line aligned under the cube. So it even looks nice. It even looks nice. Next, this improvement, move the collection exclude button to restrict column. Yeah, this was done a few weeks ago. It's the restriction button that used to be in here, in the next to the collection button. So it was, I mean, it was a bit weird. It was the checkbox was here in the place of the collection. Actually, I can actually just show you. I have the Blender to, let's see which one I have here, 290, the current release. Let's use 2.90. Let's see, I even have the official one with the proper splash screen. So yeah, if you look here, before we used to have the checkbox here and then the icon and then the name. However, this makes sense because you go from left to right, and it's usually in the interface we read from left to right, so that would make sense. However, it made it hard to see the like the hierarchy, because collection, it was at the same level than camera, cube, light. That was a bit weird. And also, yeah, all the icons were piling up, and this is a restriction after all, so it kind of made sense to have it over there. Now, because we have it on this side, on the right side, now you can see the nesting happening from a collection to the objects inside, and it's a bit better, a bit easier to read. So I personally like this this change. Let's see. What else? This is actually have to do with the viewport, but I had it in the outliner section. Basically, now you can drop object data to create instances. This allows orphan object data, for example, like meshes, curves, or etc., to be dropped into the viewport from the outliner. That is in the case, for example, here. This is a object data, the camera, and if you drop it, nothing happens because it's from the object. If you drop it here, then yeah, you make a copy. You can make copies this way. However, it wasn't working for orphan data. Orphan data is, you know, an object in Blender is made of the object, and inside of the object we have the data. So orphan data is data that doesn't belong to any objects. So for example, if I remove one of these cameras, or both, now I'm gonna have some orphan data. So now if we go into orphan data, here this should be possible to copy. Not here because this is 2.90, but it will in 2.90 1. Let's continue. And that is all for the outliner. Let's move another topic. This topic is library overrides. We haven't heard about library overrides in a while. Let me have some mate. It's already dark in here. It's it's only 5:30. Winter is here. Remember when I used to have like a beer in the summer and it was all light? Now I just want to have hot chocolate or mate or something. Let's see. Library overrides. Library overrides have been worked on for a long while. For many releases, since 2.81, I think it was the first implementation, and now they are getting improvements every like the people at the studio, the Blender Animation Studio, they are working on something that it might get announced this week. Can I drop that bomb already? And people that got the comfort box of the Blender conference are also going to find out this weekend. No, this weekend on Friday 30th, 6 p.m. Central European time. So like when this show ends, around that time. Just saying. Which, by the way, if you are in Blender Cloud, you might get a surprise today that there are some changes. If you haven't been there, go there. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but you may want to read this Blender Cloud. version 4 announcement. Yes, especially check out the training section. And I'm not sure if I'm allowed to show it yet because I don't know how stable things are. They just changed today, so be careful. Or not, just don't be careful. Just click around, and if something breaks, there is a button to report the problem in any asset, so you can report it. Just like you report Blender bugs, but report Blender Cloud bugs, please. But I should have asked for permission before. Let's continue, please. All right, okay, so library overrides. Add the initial version of resync operation. This is awesome. This has been around for a while, actually. It was in August. So this is actually part of Blender 2.91. Yes, it's 291. So you can test it in the beta that is already out there, that you can get from the usual place, builder.blender.org and 291.0 beta. All right. The feature is that you can now resync. The goal of this operator is to recreate to the override from the linked data while preserving existing defined overrides. Isn't that amazing? So once you have, for example, you link your characters and you add a override in a modifier, but you want to relink, you want to refresh, you want to resync it with whatever the changes were done in the original file. Now you can resync everything except the overrides that you applied, the local overrides. That is amazing. This is something that really is gonna change how people work. This is really like what makes it useful. Otherwise, if you were to make an override and then how do you update it, you will have to redo the link. You have to bring the link again and then apply everything again. This is yeah, it's a step-by-step process. Not anymore. This is just amazing. Resync, night and day. I will try and remember to make this a big note in the release notes, because for people working in production, I think it's pretty important for everybody, but especially if you're working in production. And this alone might be a good reason to just jump into 291. But if you're using Blender 2.83, just saying, there is a new version of 2.83, LTS. So this week was crazy. We had a new, like, Blender 2.83 getting in a new release, 2.83.8. Blender 2.91 going into beta, and Blender 2.92 going into alpha. What a week. Last week. And this week we have the new Blender Cloud, an announcement by the Blender Animation Studio, and Blender Conference. Pff, what a time to follow Blender stuff. Deep breath. Let's continue. All right, the next feature is also related to the library overrides. It's add, delete, and use linked data operation. So this will relink all the usages of a library override data block, including all of its override dependencies, to its reference linked IDs, and delete those library overrides. So it will relink all the usages of a library override and delete the overrides. Okay. Delete and use the whatever is linked. Makes sense. That's amazing. That's awesome. Yeah. Now I get it. You can delete overrides and it will just use whatever was linked. I think now in 291 is when library overrides are gonna be finally taking the next step into being okay, no more proxy stuff. Let's use library overrides. Let's continue with the other option that was added to the library overrides operators. Add operator to convert a proxy object into an override. In the end, the process is surprisingly simple. We only need to manually convert the proxy itself into an override, which is trivial, and then run the common code with the default make override operation. Whoa! Okay, this one. This is okay. So this is the last final feature that was missing for converting the old workflow for linking stuff using proxies, like it was the 90s. No 90s. Proxies were introduced in 2006 or 5 for Elephant Dream. So yeah, it's been a while. It's probably older than some people. I think I read someone saying that it's 16 years old. So this feature that is replacing the proxy object is as old as as Sam, that he's 16 and is watching the show. Isn't that that amazing? Isn't that amazing? A feature as old as somebody watching. And now it's getting, maybe it's not amazing. Maybe it's a bit sad that the feature is getting replaced after so long. Hey, Lexado, you're 15. Oh my gosh. You are as old as, no, almost, Elephant's Dream open movie project. So if I'm Vladimir, you're 17. So much young people. I thought that people were, oh wow. Oh, okay. 14, 11, and 13. No, come on. I read the stats that YouTube gives me, and it says that we're old, like in our 30s and 40s. What? 13, 14, 28, 40, 20. Look, people, just watch. It's crazy. There's so much young blood. That is amazing. All right. Okay, young people, you are the future. Tell us how to improve Blender, making use of all the how to make it good for you, how to make it fun for you. You are the future. You know, you are going to be working on feature films in some years. You know, you're gonna be the industry in 10 years. So 15 years, 10 years. So how to make Blender better for you, work for you, make it fun. All right, let's continue. Switch topics into the physics section of the week. This actually was added a while ago. It's a Summer of Code project, and I made a video, but I had a problem with the audio and I never published it. I published it, but then I figured out it was bad audio. But actually we can read about it in the wiki. In the wiki, we're gonna see under release notes, under 291 physics, we're gonna see the visualization changes. This. So there are better ways and better ways to visualize the fluid data in Blender now. This is mainly at developers to get a deeper inspection, but also for artists that are curious to see how this will look. I personally actually I like this effect, like to make this in Blender, like make the cubes and make the cubes change. You need drivers and you have you have to, like, it would take work. I wish I could just render this visualization and use it as a visual or something, you know. But yeah, look, have a look. It's already on the wiki page, so you just go to wiki, release notes 291 physics. All right, let's continue with more improvements. The fluids. There's a new option, new flood fill helper option. In general, this improves stability of MantaFlow simulations, so they should be more stable. Please test them. It was added a few days ago, 20 days ago, which is a little. So please test it and yeah, report any issues you may find. I've seen people like making tutorials and just basically not using MantaFlow for whatever reason, because it's either they mention like because it's buggy or whatever. But if it's buggy, please report the issue. It should be fixed. That's how things get better. So yeah, especially people that are making tutorials, because you're educating the future, you know. So yeah, it should use Blender as good as possible. Let's continue. So add obstacle fluid distance parameter. This is a new change. Now you're able to adjust the distance between the fluid and the obstacles. It comes in handy when trying to achieve a fluid motion over inclined obstacles. Hey, another improvement for MantaFlow. Super nice. Depending on the slope of such obstacles, already small adjustments of this value can help when particles stick to obstacle surfaces. Makes particles not stick to obstacles, for example. Let's continue. The last one, hey, ocean modifiers. Is there any ocean modifier in the room, please? No, people that like and love the ocean modifier, myself included, big fan, ocean modifier, you're amazing. You can now bake the spray maps. Thanks to Philip Stopford, now you can, a tester actually, mentioned that it would be useful to bake the spray maps. And apparently the implementation wasn't so hard because this was already done in the past for other areas of the ocean modifier. So now, thanks to the review by Hans, thank you Hans for taking the time to review this, and Brecht for accepting it, and Robert for leaving a love token, spreading the love. So now you can bake spray maps. That's awesome. Thank you, Phil. At all. And the tester that tested and provided and mentioned that it would be nice to bake that. Ronan, was that you? Awesome. You see, this is a community project. People contributing, asking, commenting, leaving hearts. All right, let's move on. I still have things to show. To talk, but we are approaching the last 10 minutes of the show, so let's try and make it count with some questions. I will leave it to the rest of the next week. So next week, I'm writing it down like last time. Okay, next week talk about this stuff. All right, let's see. 2.92 alpha. So there is 40 comments, but 11 posts, 11 upvotes. What the hell, people? No, I'm kidding. I didn't upvote it. Here's my upvote. Hey, 15 now. Hello. Hey, Sir Shankar 66. When animating using keyframes, especially on cameras, sometimes leads to choppy motion. To clear this method could be to reduce the number of keyframes, but sometimes even after reducing the keyframes, the motion may not be smooth. To know when, where, and how much to reduce a change in displacement, we need to know calculus, and sometimes even people who know calculus might not be able to visualize the derivative graph in the first glance. The best way to clear this will be a new switch that shows the derivative graph of the existing graph. This could help people understand the velocity or easing of the object. This would also introduce a new way of animating using only delta x, dx, and dt graphs. Interesting. I think this is beyond what I know from the graph editor, but so I can imagine. I think I know. I've seen this elsewhere, where you can when you see not in a nice and easy to understand way the curve, but more on a real way, what is the actual final result. So yeah, this try and make a right click select proposal, because it could be, yeah, could be seen. I've seen some improvements in the animation editor in the graph editor as well. In the previous this release 291 is gonna have improvements in there, so maybe it's a good time. The animation module team is inspired, so yeah, maybe it's a good time. And my hair is growing so fast, but I don't know if I want to go to the where the COVID cases are peaking, so I don't know if I want to go to get my hair cut. And 3D Illusions. Hello. Hi, Pablo. I hope you're well. Thank you. I'm pretty well. I heard that the Everything Notes project has gone back to the drawing board. I wonder if you could tell me how the new direction differs from the original plan. Yes, actually, there is a change that happened this week that maybe caught your attention. Is that the simulation remove particle nodes with outdated design. Yeah, so if you use the development branch of Blender, which if you watch this show, you probably watch it. So let's see, let's jump into here. So if you use the development version of Blender, you may know that under experimental there used to be a new simulation editor option that you could toggle, and then you would see here about what is it like enabled. You will see a new editor even, but now since the last few days there is a geometry nodes, and let me check. Yes, I'm in master because I also compiled the geometry nodes branch, which I can maybe just show you, because I don't know if everything is it's in master yet. But let's see the geometry nodes. So yeah, the focus moved from the simulation. Just talking about the simulation, it was a bit maybe too broad, too soon to talk about simulation when not even the most basic scattering of particles in a field, I don't know, pebbles for example, is not even done or not even properly implemented. So for example, so what happened is that the implementation moved from to something more basic. So from the particle nodes and simulations and physics and stuff, let's go to the basics. We want this to be part of everything nodes, right? So it's not thrown away, all that work is gonna come back, but first let's get the foundation first build. So let's go into the, for example, the geometry node editor, which my face is on top here. Geometry node editor. Basically this is the modifier nodes that people have been asking for, but this is very early steps. So far, for example, you can add a geometry node, and then you need to choose a node group, which you can create from here, from the node, from the geometry nodes editor. And from here you have the geometry input and output, and in the middle you can just add stuff. So far it's bare bones, so there are a few nodes that are here just to test the whole system, and this if you know, like, this is mainly to test the system, to make it yeah, let's see if I can even, do I even see? I didn't choose it here, so I didn't choose the geometry nodes. Now if you connect it, you're gonna see that I am changing, I'm splitting the geometry and it's updating. So this is a modifier inside of another modifier nodes. So I can even add another one like triangulate, and then I can triangulate, probably more visible if I enable the wireframe. So for example, it's triangulated. And then I can choose, no, I want every 5 vertices. And you see? And then there is even a transform now, where you can add a transform, so you can move it around with the nodes inside the node editor. So yeah, basically the scope of the simulation slash particle nodes was a bit too big when the basics were not there yet. So this is what we are currently working on. And yeah, it's Jack Luke. You can actually read more about it in the here in the settings, where you turn it on. You see a link, project profile, and this will take you there where you can read more. But yeah, let's see. You can even see the discussions, all the discussion, the talks, the sprint backlog. We are making a backlog. We're documenting the whole process basically. And I even started, I don't know if I have it over here. I even started, remember my UI.Pablo Vazquez.art, which is a website that I made many years ago, before Blender 2.8 was even a thing. I made this, which is a website that with HTML and CSS. This was my idea of the design of Blender 2.8 like so long ago. yeah, and it changed. Some of things was applied, but remember we still had the old icons. But anyway, I started recently, yeah, last night I started making a new one where I'm gonna be designing some notes and stuff using HTML and CSS and all this stuff. Anyway, sorry I expanded a bit too much into that, but I think it's fun to see, no? To share. All right, let's continue. Hello Pablo, how are you? I just wanted to say you should do the tutorials of your recent Insta beautiful musical artworks. Hey, that's nice. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was thinking of making, well, this is completely off topic, but on my Instagram I recently published, I moved from publishing llamas to publishing game cinematic stuff that I worked on for Watch Dogs Legion by Ubisoft. To now I'm posting about visuals. Yeah, I'm a bit all over the place, but I enjoy it, and some people were asking tutorials, so I might make something. So if you want to know more, follow PabloVazquez.art. But yeah, didn't mean to to make advertisement, but yeah. Thank you. I didn't prepare that. Let's see. The question: will Blender 3.0 have another major UI overhaul? The Blender UI is already great. Yeah, but it could be much better. It could be so much better. It could be. It could include improvements like more drag and drop, more smarter use of the space. We could have more customization. For example, we could have pinning of the panels, or we can have our own sections or our own editors. I think we can push the customization level a bit more. We could also make the life easier for the add-ons, and yeah, it could be a lot better. Also, I think the theme could be better. I would like to have some improvements over there. Basically more customization. So, oh, and the node editor. The node editor needs so much love. First, enable Node Wrangler by default, or disable Node Wrangler but take some of the features and keep Node Wrangler as a kind of a like staging area for features that we want to test like massively for everybody that has Node Wrangler, which is pretty much everybody. It is everybody because it comes built in Blender, and yeah, I think that would be good to do. But regarding it will have another major UI overhaul, no, it will have improvements over 2.8 already designed. For example, we can't even drag and drop the tabs here, or like the code for these tabs is different than the code for these tabs. So this should be unified. Some panels could be moved around. Tools could be better. I don't know. Improvements. It's not gonna be night and day for sure. It's not gonna be 2.7 to 2.8. That's for sure. All right, another question. What about sculpting performance? I've seen Pablo creating tasks about stroke performance and PVH optimizations, but they want silent since September. Well, it's since September. They're like it's 1 month. It's just silent September. Also, since September there were 2 weeks, I think. Yeah, that 1 or 2 weeks that were only bug fixing. So that also takes time away from it, and it's all about bug fixing. You know, we moved into BigCon 3, which is only fixes should be done. So yeah, performance, it's in the plans, but yeah, takes time. You can follow the task. Usually the developers use that to communicate, so it's not it's nothing hidden, like the status of that feature. All right, hi Pablo, how are you? I'm fine, Kozanagi. How are you? What about this new extrude boolean tool? I understand that it would be available for $291, but I can't find info on the site. It says 2 weeks, but for what? A new tool to add and subtract prismatic volumes. Okay, well, this was in April 2020. And new tool to add and subtract prismatic volumes. Isn't it like the non-manifold, or is it implemented a new tool that performs the sequence of actions? Yeah, no, I don't think this has been done. You can always just ask what's the status of it, just in a nice way. Actually, Kosa, you asked for it in September. Nobody replied. Great. So the current extrude manifold isn't really good. I don't understand why they did keep destroy and optional. I'm not sure about the status of this, but actually Germano, he's working for Blender, so I'm not sure what are his tasks at the moment. I assume it's mainly bug fixing, but I'm not sure. Yeah, keep poking in a nice way, with emojis. All right, well, I'm actually past time now, so let's do 5 more questions, because I want a bit I want a little bit about off track. Why is everybody talking about nudes in the chat? Because of the because of the node wrangler. No, it's a node wrangler, not nude wrangler. That will be a different tool, which I think people are doing already in Blender. I think Blender is pretty popular in that area. All right, let's continue. So here, Efas says, brother, my hardware is a Ryzen CPU, 20 gigs of RAM, RTX 2060. So, okay, show off. It's a really good graphics card. I can handle this scene in real time. Even I can't handle camera animation real time in solid mode display. If my RAM is too slow for the whole system is slow. Can you please recommend hardware or any tricks for this type of scene? You can search this music video on YouTube. Well, let's see, what do you have here? Well, you have a lot of grass, which that might make things slow. You also have volumes. Volumes should be fine though. Geometry wise, doesn't seem like a, well, maybe yeah, okay. You have almost a million. Yeah, I think the main thing would be grass. If you're moving around, that could be, and also if you have animated geometry or animated yeah, the objects shouldn't be slow, but yeah, if you have too much geometry, you can bake, or you can just yeah, just rely maybe more on the shaders. But I assume this is the grass that is making yeah, it's making it hard. But yeah, people say, hey, well, why can't run Crysis with a lot of grass? Well, it's a game engine, right? They use tricks to only show the, well, which Blender could do, of course, but to show, I don't know, planes instead of the actual geometry, or to not calculate the shadows in the grass, or to fade the ones that are too far away. So yeah, what I could recommend, yeah, try and maybe try to do the grass a bit more smartly, like add only this amount of grass at the beginning here, but then in the yeah, in the back just use a lower resolution amount of grass. I wouldn't recommend just adding more hardware to the, like, just buying more stuff. I would just try and improve this one over here. But also Eevee, it's meant for, it's not completely meant for real, it is meant for real time. It should be as fast as possible, but there is a limit of what, okay, quality or real time. And yeah, we expect real time, because it's not only Eevee's fault, right? You also have the evaluation of the depth graph, which can be slowing things down. So yeah. Next question, number 4. Anze, I was wondering how many add-ons were implemented into Blender as a fully built-in features and not just as add-ons in the past. Or in other words, if someone made a very useful tool with Python, was there ever a case where a core developer saw it, got interested, and turned it into C or C++ and implemented it into master? Yes, I actually myself, I have I don't know if I have it in my website. Sorry, it's very showing a lot of my own stuff. But for example, I made an add-on called Amaranth, and there was an option for the viewport alpha for materials in 2.70 got added. A shortcut for render view, I added it first on my add-on. Material indicator for particles, that's also added, which wasn't there before. And yeah, and there are a bunch of features that get added over time. Usually the case is that those features get added by the developer that made the add-on, or they get made into patches. I assume that maybe some developers don't feel right about, oh, I saw this add-on, I'm going to implement it in C inside of Blender, and you know, it's like stealing. But it's not stealing, right? Because the add-on developer is also using your code, the API, to make the add-on. So the add-on developer wouldn't be able to make anything if Blender developers didn't make the API. So where is the moral limit in there? Who copies who? Yeah. If the add-on developer contributes these features as a patch publicly, then I think that is like a green light. It's like, yeah, you go use it, and then it could be improved. Question number 3 is, hello Pablo, I wanted to ask you, what are your opinions regarding the LuxCore render engine? Have you ever tried it? I find it odd how few people in the community use it, despite being great at certain areas where Cycles lacks, such as interior architecture visualization and complex lighting scenes, as it possesses more advanced algorithm to do the work. So I wanted to ask, could we have a shout out for the LuxCore render engine? Of course we can have a shout out. I know people that use it. I know there is a YouTuber, Bone Studio. It's Spanish, but also makes content in English, and he talks about it in his live streams. If you go to Blender Bone Studio, let's see if I can search for Lux. He makes videos about LuxCore in English and Spanish, and yeah, even the news about LuxCore. So yeah, there are people in the community using it. I personally haven't used it since, I don't know, 15 years, like as old as some of the people watching. When I was starting with Blender, before Blender even had ray tracing, I used Lux. It was called Lux only back then, and also Frey, but I haven't used it lately. Go check it out. It's open source, so check it out. If you do architectural visualization, interiors, or complex scenes, definitely check it out. It's free and open source, and it works great with Blender, which is the best thing besides being open source. Let's see. Blender stream using LuxCore, but I know nothing about LuxCore. I will have to invite, maybe I can have like a guest. I can have someone that is really good at LuxCore, like Bone Studio, talking and sharing about it. All right, Vladimir says, this is question number 2. This post isn't exactly a question, but if you can, please read it. If you just post, it's just a post to say thank you to the Blender community. Okay, let's read it. I'm over time, but you know, we need some wholesomeness. Since I was a kid, I always wanted to make games. When I was 13, I started using Blender, and thanks to the tutorials made by the community, I learned almost everything I know of 3D modeling, animation, etc. I also want to thank you, Pablo, for the live streams, where I also learned a lot. I'm from Argentina, a fellow Argentinian, and seeing someone from Argentina that made it so far, that is involved in the 3D world, very inspiring. Last week in my high school, I presented to over 50 younger students the video game I made for my last year of high school project, and also was able to show Blender, where a lot of the participants showed a lot of interest and curiosity for it. The video game that I made wouldn't have been possible without the community. Thanks for everything. Isn't that nice? Thank you, Vladimir, for dropping by. Welcome to the Blender community. Well, yeah, you've been around for a while. You're even on the Blender cloud. Awesome. Yes, I actually started that way. I was 14, maybe 15 when I started with Blender, and 14 or 15 years old. And I also started because of the game. I wanted to make a game, and Blender had a game engine back then that I could use. So yeah, I can relate. Thank you. Karsten says, we need us not even hi. Hi, Karsten. How are you? We need a search in the preferences. Yes, winky face. Winky face. That means that you are gonna add it? Thank you. No, yeah, we need it in the preferences. But you know what? Before the preferences, I would go and I'd rather have fuzzy search in the add-ons, so you don't have to be perfect here. Also in the key map, so you don't have to write the perfect thing here for a perfect string. And yeah, in the preferences for sure. Actually, it's planned eventually, but the redesign of the user preferences, remember when it used to be all in one horizontal navigation? Well, this is search used to be there, planned from the beginning. And the last question, hey, any updates on the 2D cutout animations features on the roadmap? No, not so far. However, the Grease Pencil team is working on the SVG import-export pipeline. So that is related to cutout in a way. Not the animation features, but more of like itself. Yeah, you can bring like cut animation itself, or you can bring it from other softwares. And okay, the last question, Damian, because you always hear Damian Winichenko. Hi Pablo, how's your tooth? It's like science plus root canal procedures. I don't feel a thing, and I should never feel it again if it was done properly. Anyway, my questions for developer. Have you seen this video from 2 Minutes Paper? I follow 2 Minutes Paper, so I watch pretty much everything they post. Beautiful results from 30 years of light transport simulation. I haven't seen this one in particular. Oh, they're using Blender. I haven't seen it, and I'm really running out of time now, but I want to, I'm gonna check it out. I haven't seen this one in particular. But it's so exciting that this is, that people are using Blender to test things, which is something we should push, you know? All these super smart people making these papers, just use Blender. Try it, test it there, and maybe if you really like it, you can leave it and share it with the world. But yeah, it looks promising. How likely this development could be adapted to by cycles, even though the results are amazing, the solution is not yet ready for practical purposes. That mentioned in the actual paper itself, but also mentioned by one of the cycles developer. Okay, so actually there is a problem here. Also, yeah, but like I say that yeah, we should when people making these papers, they should add it to Blender. Yes and no. There are some things that you can that probably make sense, but all the other ones that are such an overhead, like if you want to add, you have an algorithm for like this, some render thing, then you have to make sure that it works, or in Eevee, or make the UI for it, or when you export to another engine, or when you import, and where it's the settings, and what if you open this in a new Blender version or an older Blender version, what happens to that setting, to the values? There's so much overhead that I understand why it's just easier sometimes to do things in a little sandbox. Way over time, 15 minutes over time, but hey, we had fun. We talked about a bunch of things. We talked about improvements in performance in cycles, lattice form, improvements in the user interface, in the fluid simulation, in the library overrides, in so much. Pretty happy with how today turned out. How about you? In the chat, do you have fun? And you watching this offline after, do you have fun? watching this? Do you think it's worth sharing? Please consider sharing it with the world so we are more people here gathering every week, same place, same time. This week there was a time change, by the way. In Europe, they moved the clocks. I don't know why they do that. It's 5:30 and it was 5 p.m. and it's already dark. Yeah. This is gonna stay like this until March, by the way, so let's just get used to it. Luckily, Blender is getting amazing. It's becoming just crazy with the features. Blender 292 Alpha. But don't get distracted by the new features. Please do yourself and everybody a favor and test Blender 2.91 in your with your blend files. Get a render from 2.90 and compare it with 2.91. If there is a difference, report it, please. If you see like playback, is it faster or slower? If it's much slower, report it. Or if something crashes, open all blend files. It should all work. If it doesn't, please report it, so we get a Blender stable for everybody. In the meantime, I'm going to rest my voice and prepare for the live stream in Spanish, Español. If you speak Español, I'm going to start the live stream in 40 minutes in Blender Hoy, youtube.com/Blender Hoy. Like Blender Today, but in Spanish. Very original. See you there, and to all the English speaking people, or us that try to speak English. See you next week, same place, same time, for this that we named Blender Today. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's not too loud, right? Thanks everybody in the chat. Thank you for staying until the end. Gracias. Arigato. Merci. Tante grazie. Dankeschön. Thank you well. Say something more. Bye. Gracias.